This is a very, very big deal, this news we're hearing. Ooh, I hope Seton knows I'm coming on. I'm late. In all truthfulness, I just shoved food in my mouth because it's 9 o'clock and I haven't had dinner. And that's it. That's all I got. Nothing. So, amidst all the other news that's happening in the world, and there is, I should expose myself, there is sure a lot of it. There is also some hot off the presses news that Alec Murdaugh is going to be getting a new trial. Holy cow, because how are we going to possibly sit through that again? So most of you, I think, would be familiar with Alec Murdaugh. He's from South Carolina and was convicted of the murder of his wife and son, wife Maggie, son Paul. Paul had been in a terrible boat accident where a young woman was killed, Mallory Beach. And they had requested that Alec turn over his financial statements for a civil suit. Oh, look, there's Seton right there. And let me see if I can see it. And if you talk, I can click on. Oh, look, I can do it right there. She's first on the list. How? Well, that's why we're going to talk to Seton, who is not a lawyer. She just plays one on TV.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's been a long time.
I know. I'm sorry I was late.
No. And I'm so sad that I missed the weekend last weekend.
Oh, we had a really good weekend. I know they would have loved to have talked to you, but now the trial gets started up again. This could go on for years.
I know. But even without this, I do want to join because I think it'd be so fun.
It's really is fun. It's very good. I'm still recovering from all the fun.
Yay.
Okay. I'm want to know the scoop.
Wait, can we talk about, I really want Natalee Holloway first. Can we do it first?
About who?
Natalee Holloway.
Oh, okay. Yes, we can.
Because I was in Birmingham, Alabama when she went missing, and everywhere you went, there were these yellow ribbons around the trees, and there were a lot of connections. Actually, one of my good friends, Beth Holloway, was her son's preschool teacher. And so I've really followed this story closely for years, and it's really been on my mind. And it ties me back to the Shanquella Robinson story. The fact that Shanquella, we still don't have answers. They have waited, the Holloway family has waited basically, almost close to 18 years for answers.
As long as she had been alive.
Yeah. And I feel the same way about Shanquella Robinson, that her family is in this limbo place. So anyway, I saw you did a live last night about Natalee. So that was.
And it's interesting. I connected those exact two things. This might be why you and I are friends, because I was like, here you have, I think everybody knew what happened. We all knew, especially Johan Vandersloot, when he murdered the other young woman.
Yeah.
It was like, well, clearly he did. But you know what I think about him? I was kind of going down this rabbit hole of people that were like, well, now her mother has this and her mother has that. And I was like, we don't know what the mother has. I no more know I'm not the mother. But all I could think of was, I don't believe a word he's saying.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you don't know. He's a proven liar. And we have those similarities.
I mean, I believe he killed her, but I think that's about as far as we know. I can't imagine that he would be honest.
I know. I don't know. I mean, I hope that this brings some resolution to her family, but I don't know if it does.
I think she's buried somewhere. I really, anyway,
I mean, he
I
said what
just,
he took her with the cinder block and
yeah, I mean, what's he on the beach and he just randomly
finds
finds a cinder
cinder
block?
block and then throw it where like you because you would have to you can't just put her out on the beach. You would have to take her somewhere else.
Right. And if somebody goes in the ocean, there's a very good chance they could wash up.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like
I'm
and we never heard
heartbroken
anything
about that
about
story.
the brothers that were with him. Like, what happened to them?
Yeah, where are they?
The mother says she is happy with the news. Well, good.
No, I
Well, then
hope she is, and I hope that she has. And
that's what's most important.
because we've been covering on our podcast Impact of Influence, we've been trying to cover the Shanquilla Robinson story, but it's just kind of at a dead end right now. And I really want to have Beth Holloway on our
Oh,
podcast to talk about this because she went through 18 years of nothing.
right, right. Yeah, and I was saying last night with Natalee Holloway, obviously these are people she didn't know. Shanquilla Robinson is from North Carolina in a foreign country and with people that she does know.
No,
And so,
she actually that's a myth. She really only was friends with one of those people. The other people were not really people she knew. So she was in a country like she had one person she knew. These other people were not really friends with her, according to
right.
her dad. Because we've interviewed her dad 2 times, and these were not people that he was familiar with. And her dad was the parent. Her parents actually did not divorce until after her death. He was involved. They were married. He was involved in her life. Now
Hmm.
he was a long haul truck driver, so he wasn't there all the time, but
Right.
he these weren't her close knit circle of friends.
But the one guy on the video that's saying, "Can't you fight back?" He was her
He
friend.
was, yes.
So she had somebody that should have been her friend
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And there's something about that that is mind blowing. And and is that person just wandering the earth? We know Dejanay Jackson, was named as the person on the
I mean, the
video.
big thing with that is the conflict in autopsies. The autopsy that was
Right.
conducted in Mexico said, that there,
Atlas
it,
dislocation.
yes. And then the autopsy that was conducted in North Carolina um, was inconclusive. So
And I could see Seton, it's the video that gets me. If there was no video and these parents said, "We know something bad happened," and you said, "Okay, well, let's do the autopsy," and then the autopsy didn't show anything, the autopsy didn't show any alcohol in her system, and it showed no neck
well,
injury.
it didn't show any alcohol, but the autopsy was too late. By the time they did the alcohol test, that was not a reliable test either way.
But even if she had had alcohol in her system, you don't,
It still doesn't. It
we
still
saw the
doesn't.
video of what
It
happened to
doesn't
her.
explain. And also, so that video, according to the people who, the what was it? The concierge said the lighting of the video that would have had to have been early morning based on the sunlight coming into the villa that they were staying. So
Early morning.
early morning, but then there was nobody called until late afternoon. So, what happened in this period of time when she basically was beat down naked and then police or authorities weren't called until, or medical, not even authorities, medical attention was not called until 4 p.m. So there's this big chunk of time, and we interviewed a
I didn't
pathologist.
I didn't know what you're talking about. I didn't know about the chunk of time.
No, there's a big chunk of time. So there's a chunk of this video. They're saying that this assault that happened, where we see this video where she's being beat by another woman naked, happened in the morning, and then authorities. And I'm like, this has been a couple of weeks, so please, people, if I say the wrong time, don't. But there's a huge chunk of time from when this happened and from when medical help was called and what happened in that time. And we talked to a pathologist on our podcast who reviewed everything, and she said, you know, it is kind of inclusive. You can't really tell. So at this point, you have to rely on an investigation. And so what happened in that chunk of time? And is there an investigation being conducted?
No.
Yeah.
And I think you have to go back to, and people are going to get all, feisty over me talking about race. But Natalee Holloway was from Birmingham, blonde, young girl, all over the news.
Yeah.
Shanquella Robinson, African American from North Carolina, and crickets.
I really think there's something to that. I mean, I think that I will bring another example up about this. So you go back to this boating accident that happened where Mallory Beach was killed. Beautiful girl, horrible accident. And then you have this influential family. So it's the perfect storm for media to take attention. But we actually covered another story about another man called Jaden Phillips, who was killed in a boating accident on the Congaree River in nothing. There's nothing going to happen. The investigation was completely botched, but there's no media attention to Jaden Phillips' death.
Gabby
and it's
Petito.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely horrible. Because unless you're like this pretty young blonde girl, maybe you're not going to get attention.
And Elizabeth Smart,
I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying for Jaden Phillips' case, is heartbreaking to me. It is the most heartbreaking case that here's this young 19-year-old who was killed in a boating accident on the Congaree River, and nobody is going to face the consequences for that.
Right. Yeah, I think I listened to this good podcast where Elizabeth Smart was being interviewed. Crime Junkies, Crime Junkies.
I love Crime Junkies.
And they had an extra, I've never listened to an extra part of it, but I listened to, I guess, what they had to cut because it was too long. And Elizabeth Smart really delves into how that's what she does, is particularly Indigenous women, and that they don't get the media attention. And she says, look at me. My face was on People magazine within 5 days, and then you have young lady Hanya Aguilar, who is from Lumberton, who couldn't.
I want to cover that. I really do want to.
Well, in her trial, or the trial for her accused murderer starts, it's the last week of February is when that trial begins.
I want to.
But anyway,
that.
I think it's we do have to talk about that. And there's another thing in Lumberton where it's either 3 or 4 women were found stuffed in trash cans, and they've never gotten any attention, and it's an unsolved crime. Is it a serial killer? What happened to them?
Someone says, of course, race plays a part of disparity and intention in these cases. I think that's true.
I mean, it can't not. I mean, I guess we're seeing it with our own eyes. If Dejanay Jackson was, now you could say, let's say she was Obama's daughter, would she get the attention? Yes. So maybe not just race, but some sort of, if there was any famousness, maybe so, but we have it on video.
Yeah.
It is on video, and still crickets.
Well, I mean,
that should be what your podcast. Can we just call it crickets?
Yeah, I have 2 now. So I have 2 podcasts that we're doing.
We might, when we come on mine, we're going to call it crickets. Crickets with Seton.
You called crickets. Yes, let's call crickets for the people these attention of cases that
crickets.
Should be attention.
Okay, so let's talk about Alec Murdaugh.
All right, let's do it.
Well, go on and tell me. All I know is I heard he's getting a new trial.
No,
No.
That is actually, so yesterday there was an order by the Supreme Court of South Carolina basically a stay on the appeal. So the defense said that they intended to appeal, but the Supreme Court said, okay, and they requested, like, let's delay this. So basically the only thing that really happened, it's kind of enough, is that let's deal with these jury tampering allegations before we deal with an appeal, because there's really no point in it. Let's figure out if that has any merit, and then if that does have merit, then deal with those first. But I mean, that's the whole thing. They're not saying you're getting a new trial or anything like this. With several attorneys, so I don't know if we've spoken about these jury tampering allegations.
We talked about right came out, but I haven't heard your real. I think you're brand new anyway.
Yeah. So the jury tampering allegations were basically saying that the clerk of court had improper communications with some of the jurors, and there was this whole thing about a Facebook post that she took, and she took it to the judge about this egg juror. Egg juror, why she's called the egg juror is because when she was dismissed from the jury, they said, hey, is there anything you've left in the jury room? And she said, well, one of our co-jurors brought some eggs, and he said, and she said, well, and the judge Newman said, do you want those? And she said, yes, I would like my eggs. So that's how she kind of got dubbed to be the egg juror. I'm not sure she's so happy with that name. Who knows? But anyway, the reason this whole Facebook thing was not the reason why the egg juror was dismissed. So in Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin's filing, they mention this kind of Facebook. They said that the clerk of court see post on Facebook from the egg juror's ex-husband, and says that they had communications about this trial. Well, the egg juror, the egg juror denies this, and then they go back and they can't really find these communications. But again, this is not why she was dismissed, because I was in the courtroom when she was dismissed, and the judge, and she actually asked Judge Newman, was I dismissed based on communication about something my ex-husband did? And he says no. So again, we can't find this communication with this egg juror. There is another person with the same name as the egg juror's ex-husband who lives in Georgia and had a post similar, but it wasn't anything to do with the Murdaugh murder. So it was really weird how the clerk of court found this communication. It's really very convoluted. I don't totally understand it myself, but apparently there's been some forensic, according to the defense. They have looked at all this. The egg juror's ex-husband says he never posted anything on social media. And then there's this other post from this man in Georgia who has nothing to do with it. But again, that's not really why the egg juror was dismissed. The egg juror was dismissed because she had a rental property, and in this rental property, she had to go and she deliver a new fridge. So she delivers this new fridge, and these people who were her tenants then said that she discussed the case with them. Actually, they didn't say it. It came from another person who worked at this pizza restaurant with them. So it's really very bizarre. And so that is why she was supposedly dismissed, is she spoke with her tenants about the case. And every day the judge said, don't have communications with anybody. You're not allowed to talk about this case. And so why she was dismissed was because she supposedly had this communication with her tenants, and her coworkers, the tenants' coworkers, turned them in, and that's why. But now the egg juror is saying that's not true, and in the filing from Alec Murdaugh's defense team, they say that these two coworkers of the tenants were contacted by SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, and SLED says, hey, they take them in the car. They show up at their house at 10 o'clock at night. They're sleeping, and say, we need to question you about these communications you've had about with this juror. So they talk to them and tell them what they know. And they said, okay, next morning you need to come back to court. So according to the court filing, they show back up at court at 9 a.m. and then they're kept there till 6 p.m. without, they don't know, they're just kept there. And then they're saying, hey, we're just going to, here's an affidavit based on your conversations with SLED. You just need to sign it. So they're saying so the defense is saying they didn't really read them. They just signed these affidavits. I don't know what the truth is. I think that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And Dick, so two of the egg juror and another juror are represented by Joe McCullough, who was there. He's that long white-haired dude who was at the
Right.
trial.
But hold on a minute. Most of us regular Joes, that we thought that they were going to get a new trial based on the fact that the clerk wrote a book and had, is that not right?
No, that's not, well, some of her book stuff is in there. Some of the comments that she made in her book, that was used in the court filing, and they're saying that she made admissions in her book about having inappropriate conversations with jurors. That when, for example, when they went to Moselle with kind of a field trip with the jury, she says in her book that she they all looked at each other and made eye contact and knew that they were guilty. And they're, so I don't know, they all, was it, who was it that she made eye contact with? Was it that she made eye contact with the other law enforcement officers, or was it with the jurors? I don't know. I mean, this may need to be delved in deeper, and they may need to talk to, they may need to have this evidentiary hearing to question the jurors about this contact.
Yeah, when she brought them lunch. That's right, Donna. And then
yeah, and they're saying that with one of the foremen. I mean, this is, again, we haven't heard both sides. We've only really heard the defense side, but they're saying, she would go off and have these conversations with with the foreman of the jury. I will say, I met Becky Hill during the trial. She was very, very nice. Actually attended two gatherings with her. She's extremely nice. I don't know if this is true or not.
Yeah.
Again, we've only heard the defense side. We have not heard the prosecution
Well,
side.
and I mean, the defense. Well, here's something that they should be doing, and this is legitimate because I saw this with my own eyes. I mean, watching this darn trial on the TV, you were watching it there, but on the television, you kind of, it's like watching a football game, right? On TV. You don't miss anything because they like replay it. One thing, and I would text you, but you didn't have your phone during
No,
the
you
trial,
cannot
which is very,
have your phone. It's very hard.
very frustrating because I wanted to talk to Seton about these things. So I had to call my friend Sheila instead. And there was one juror that slept a ton.
Oh, yeah, no, but she was the alternate. That was the one she actually
But
never.
what if they had to have her be a juror?
No, I know. She put a blanket over her head a lot of the time.
I mean,
but I would say
on.
It was very cold. It was very cold in there. And I don't know, maybe she wasn't sleeping. Maybe I did have to bring a little blanket to keep myself warm too. So I don't know. I will say, though, that I felt like most of the jurors were paying good attention.
No, they were, but that one was not.
No. She was paying more attention to the people in the gallery than she was the trial. But she didn't make it on the jury. She was the last alternate.
I mean, I feel like she looks like this.
She did look a little bit like that, but you got to have more blanket.
I mean, Amos is so thrilled with this. I got this for a quarter at the thrift shop.
I love it.
No, but if I were Harpootlian, I'd be like, I was thinking, why aren't they going after the person that was asleep? But I didn't know she was an alternate. So ding, 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 that makes sense.
But I mean, I guess I personally feel like there should be this evidentiary hearing. So if just to put these, just to put this aside, because I mean, there's not definitely, and well, two things. So my personal feeling is they should do this evidentiary hearing just to put any doubts aside.
Mm-hmm.
And an evidentiary hearing is just in front of the judge. Public is not allowed, media is not allowed, because you have to still protect the identities of the jurors, which is right. I mean, they've given public service, and it's not right for them to, they gave 6 weeks of their lives. But I mean, if they're going to have an evidentiary hearing, I do feel like just let it be questioned and let the judge hear it.
But haven't some of the jurors come out publicly or not?
Several have.
Okay.
Some have, some have not. Some, actually, there were a few. Actually, the clerk of court accompanied a few of the jurors to go to New York City and appear on Good Morning America.
New York City?
Well, and
New York City.
You know what was also interesting to me? In Becky Hill's book, she says that's the first time she was ever on an airplane. She's the clerk of court.
How did she get the book out so quick? I find that interesting. As someone who's been working on a book now for 900 years.
Well, I think she had a co-author. I think she just, I don't know how she got it out so quick. I don't know. I originally, when I started this whole interest of this case, before even the murders, I started writing a book, and I got 2 chapters in, and I don't know. I need to go back and read it and see what it says now. But
this is what the state of my life looks like right now.
Well, this is what the state of mine looks like right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, yours is looking like the White House compared to what's happening.
Mine's bad. I'm in my husband's office, so it's not as bad as what my person.
Well, this is my office, and I dare. No one is allowed to come in here.
She says it's a co-author. I don't know if a co-author is synonymous for a ghostwriter. I don't know. I know that there was something wrong about me in the book. Did I tell you about that?
No.
Okay, so, and I did reach out to her. So in her book, she says that on our podcast.
Oh, I read this part.
Jim Griffin said that he was talking to me nightly after the trial, which was not accurate. No, I did not.
Well, because I was like, Seton has been holding back information.
No,
she is talking to Jim Griffin at night, and she hasn't told me. No. This is a problem.
That is not accurate. He was not. If you listen to the episode of our podcast, because we had Jim Griffin and Sarah Soria. Don't come at me and say we're defense friendly, because we also had Creighton Waters on our podcast. We had them all. But so whenever that happened, I was like, I reached out to them. I was like, hey, by the way, if you listen to the podcast, he said he was speaking to Sarah Azari on nightly, which for me, it's not that bad, because it seems like, oh, I got this big scoop. The lawyer was talking to me, but for him, it would be kind of embarrassing. Like, I'm talking to a first-time podcaster about legal analysis.
I didn't even think about that.
That's pretty embarrassing for him, but no.
Well, and for her, I don't know. It's just funny not to have that.
But anyway, right. They claim they fixed it in future editions. I do have the edition where it says my name in it.
Well, good. That's the one we need to keep.
I'm keeping it, but anyway.
Have we heard what Alec is up to into jail?
I haven't really followed what he's up to in jail. I mean, there was a lot. We talked about the love letters he was receiving and all that. I haven't heard much about what he's up to lately. I've been following a little bit more about the jury tampering allegations, and Corey Fleming going to jail, and Russell.
Yeah, how long has Corey Fleming got a pretty serious sentence, didn't he?
So Corey Fleming is Alec's law school roommate buddy, and he was sentenced to 5 years in prison. He had a deal with federal court, and I think it was 5 years. And then I did some research, because you can participate with the federal court into this RDAP program, which is like the drug and alcohol rehab program, and other things, good time. And he probably would only have served like, maybe 2.5 years behind bars. So then he has like one of the best lawyers in South Carolina, Debbie Barbier. She's a defense attorney. She's great. And then he goes and he basically pleads guilty to all the same charges with federal. Now with the state, in the state, with the federal charges, the statute of limitations had run on I think it was the Hakeem Pinckney charges. So he was only really sentenced on the Satterfield charges. So he thinks he's getting a great deal. He goes, pleads guilty, says, yeah, I'm in the wrong. I'm awful. I'll never forgive myself. And then he gets a huge sentence. He gets I think it was 13 years in state prison. And because of one of his, I'm trying to remember, this is a couple episodes again, because of the money laundering charges, that's required to serve 85% of your time. So he is looking at, after he gets out of federal prison, serving a couple more years in South Carolina state prisons, which is interesting because there's a couple of lawyers from South Carolina who have stolen more money. There's another guy, Richard Breitbart from Lexington, who stole kind of in an equal manner. Like he stole from rich, poor, everybody, more money. And he only got 5 years federal prison. Now, we discussed this in one of our episodes, and people got really mad because we're like, well, it's not consistent. And they're like, oh, you're taking up for this man who stole from Hakeem Pinckney, who was a deaf paraplegic man. I don't know. I don't think that I think Corey knew he was doing bad stuff. I think he knew Alec wasn't a good guy, but I don't think he knew the extent of it. And I think his sentence wasn't necessarily consistent with what other lawyers have gotten in our state. Now, maybe other lawyers should get the same. Maybe other lawyers should get more like Corey got. I'm not going to answer that question. I mean, I think that's a fair argument. They are appealing his sentence in the state court. I don't know if that will be successful, but I think Corey is no longer going to participate in RDAP or try to get any sort of good time in the federal prison, because he's going to want to serve the most time he can in the federal prison. Because why would, if you're required to serve 13 years in state prison, and spend most time you can in federal, because that's going to be a better situation.
Right. Oh, yeah, there's just still so much we don't know. I was just thinking the other night, like it's just it's hard to wrap my mind around it that he did that. And I don't know why.
Who,
it almost annoys
Alec or
me.
Corey?
Alec, yeah.
It's still hard to wrap it, but you know what? We had this. I mean, I think
it's the son. I think the son is what.
But this is what I'm saying. Yes, I think it's so hard. I still have a hard time. I'm with you. I still have a hard time wrapping my head around it. But the other thing is, we had this family annihilator expert on, not this past one, the time before last. And apparently it's more common than you think that people kill their whole families. Now, a large percentage of these people also kill themselves after they kill their families, but there's also people who don't. So I don't know. I think there's still unanswered questions. I mean, myself, I don't think we really truly know. I'm interested to see if more of these drug connections come out.
Yeah, Phyllis, we can't grasp. What happened? Who has the dog that was out there? Who has their dog?
Their former housekeeper has their dog, Blanca.
And this was their like pet, not a.
Well, the pet, but the pet stayed in the kennels.
But was it a hunting dog or a?
It was a hunting dog, but I think it was still a club. But I believe that they had little dogs that stayed in the house with them, but this was a dog that stayed out in the kennel. So I think that they spent a lot of time with them. But I mean, I only know because I don't have any sort of hunting property. I don't have hunting dogs, but like I've only had dogs that like live in my house.
Well, I mean, I know he did it. I mean, I felt like he did it before, and then to go through that trial, I mean, there's a part of me that's just interested to know what another trial would be like, because they're gonna.
Well, I actually don't think, if you look, so I still have questions about the disposal of Maggie's phone. And I've seen some online Twitter, or what do you call it? Not Twitter, what do you call what's the one that the kids do?
Snapchat,
No, not Snapchat, the videos.
Instagram.
Oh, that what,
Oh, Be
TikTok.
Real. Oh,
TikTok. No, not Be Real.
the TikTok.
The TikTok.
She's
So
seen it on the TikTok.
I've seen it on the TikTok. There's some stuff on the TikTok that, it does make you question. I still had questions about the disposal of Maggie's cell phone after, and I don't think that the defense did a particularly good job. Someone's saying TikTok.
Yeah, I know. There's a slight delay.
I know. But I don't think they did a particularly good job bringing up those things that might be questions in jurors' mind. I don't think either side did a great job presenting the technical information. So if there is a new trial, maybe we'll see more answers of how all this technology makes sense to us. Clearly, it's hard for me because I don't even remember TikTok.
I think when the mother's caregiver talks about him coming in holding what she thought was the blue tarp.
Yeah.
That was pretty big for me. Because it was that night.
Okay, but then I felt like that was Nick. I really had questions about this tarp situation because that was big for me. But then what was also big for me was the fact that the prosecution, there was actually a blue tarp sitting in a closet on top of some dishes that they didn't test for gunshot residue or any sort of DNA. So they tested this blue raincoat, but there was an actual tarp that was not tested. That's weird. Why wouldn't you test that?
And you could be, it is so frustrating to see how the police handled that situation. But as soon as you start going down that rabbit hole, you get just mad at Alec because he's the one that set this whole thing up so that he would get preferential treatment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
but
police are human. It's like,
yeah,
they were groomed.
Could have, would have, should have, all that stuff, all of
it. Or the clothes that he had on that day.
And Kenneth Kinsey, who was one of the star witnesses for the prosecution, said there's never, he's now retired from law enforcement. He has his own PI company. He sponsors our other podcast. But what he said is, I've never been involved in an investigation that ever thought everything went perfectly. There's never, you always leave something. And I'm sure you feel that way with when you do a live video. I'm like, oh, I wish I would have said that every single time. So I feel like that's the same way with law enforcement. But there's two things I do feel like we should talk about. We should talk about Moselle. The house is for sale again.
Didn't it sell recently?
It did, but now they're selling. So I think the whole property was 1,700 acres, but they're selling the house and 21 acres. And you can watch the video. It's actually really pretty inside. I don't know if you could live in it with everything, but it has these really beautiful heart of pine walls. It's kind of a cool place.
And what are they doing with the rest of the land? Keeping it?
Well, I think that I know that the neighboring farm bought most of it. So I think that's what's happening with it. I think they're going to use it. And I believe that the dog kennels are not part of this other property, but I'm not 100% on that. But it's interesting because that's only 21 acres, but the other, 1,600 plus are going are
Mm-hmm.
being used by. And that's the real valuable land for hunting. But then we should talk about this lifetime.
Well, we also need to talk about, at some point, we need to go back to the fact that we haven't really talked about this backstory of drugs and boats and
Oh,
how
yeah.
Alec ended up buying Moselle for like $1.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting story.
That's a
That's for a
slippery
different
slope.
day. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
there's a
no, for
lot.
sure. I think that the whole Buller connection and the friendship, and honestly, I don't know all the answers to it. It's very suspect. I mean, I know they had a friendship. I know they had a legal relationship as well. I don't know exactly how that all transpired, but I do have strong suspicions that it involves some sort of drug connections.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more from Cousin Eddie.
I would too. And yes, I mean, there's a reason Cousin Eddie didn't testify. Credibility was not there.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. So, did you just say Lifetime
Did
movies? What?
you not see the Lifetime movie? They had
No.
a. Oh my gosh! How did you miss this? I was.
Wait, it came out because I had 200 plus people
Oh
in
gosh.
Eatonton for the weekend.
I know. Sorry. Well.
And I've had a difficult week. I have a young child with disabilities who has had a lot of struggles this week.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine. But I mean,
So
hate.
she was busy.
I's
Sorry.
busy.
You're busy.
So tell us the Lifetime movie. Yes, I'm gonna watch
Okay,
this.
so we did a whole episode on this Lifetime movie. I'll give you the breakdown. Okay.
You've already done an episode on
yes,
this?
it just came out today.
And
or yesterday.
Which podcast is this on?
Impact of Influence that we did this with.
Impact of Influence, which is Seton Tucker. If you're new to Seton, this is one of her podcasts.
Yes, I'm glad too. But this one, we did an episode where we broke it down, and we had Michael DeWitt, who also he works with us on our other podcast. He's a Hampton native, and he is also he's also a journalist. Oh, thank you. But it was interesting because Matt started off like, "What do you rate it?" Well, I grew up watching Lifetime movies. That's what I did with my grandmother.
Hallmark, Lifetime.
Yes, I loved it like a Sunday night.
The Wednesday after school special was the only thing that rises above those two things.
Yes. I loved it. But it was a little bit different because in these previous Lifetime movies, I was not as familiar with the story. So initially I was not going to watch it. I was like, I'm not watching because I know all the story. And then, people are going to pick it up. That's not right. That's not right. That's not right. Like the number of steps Gloria fell down is not right. And Maggie showing up at the hospital after the boating accident, that was not right. So you do think about all these things, but then, because I didn't watch it live, I watched it after. I was like, I'm just going to go into it like I'm watching a Lifetime movie for pure enjoyment. So if you watch it for pure enjoyment and you're not going to pick up apart all the things that are wrong, then I think it was good. And I do actually think that Bill Pullman, the actor who played Alec Murdaugh, was really good. Like, I think he actually kind of nailed a lot of his mannerisms, and it was good. Now, they make inferences about, like, Stephen Smith. When somebody confronts him about Stephen Smith, he gets, he has, like, this breakdown, all these type of things. These are just, they do a lot of the things for theatrics. We heard from Fitz News a while back about this prostitute had come forward about some sort of relationship with Alec Murdaugh.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah,
but I thought that was all like a hoax.
We haven't heard anything else about this. I don't know if it was a hoax or not.
That was the one she was at the funeral.
No. That was this alleged mistress at the funeral that was all over social media. This was actually a person who came forward. She was interviewed by Fitz News. She said that she had worked in like a nightclub, and somebody said you can come to private parties and dance, and then she didn't realize that was going to turn into some sort of prostitution prostitution situation. Anyway, I don't know if it's true or not. Fitz News interviewed her.
She's been
but
watching
anyway,
too many Lifetime movies.
she might know, but I don't
She
know.
needs to watch.
So they do that. They do have a very salacious scene where like he is rough with her. He chokes her, and then she says, it's okay, honey. Do you need some Viagra? It's like, it's cringeworthy. It's cringeworthy. But I think that was for like.
That's right up there with the ferry going to Chapel Hill on the Outer Banks.
Right. They have to have some stuff. They have to have some stuff for like,
it's a Lifetime movie.
Lifetime. They have to do stuff for,
was there
ratings or
snow? Was there a Christmas scene with snow?
There was no Christmas scene with snow, but there were mountains in the Low Country. People were upset about that. But I mean, but again, I actually thought it was, if you go at it just for entertainment purposes, it's good. Now, the other side of it was, I thought about, there was a scene when you see Gloria's head at the bottom of the stair and all this blood. I'm real squeamish and seeing that. And then there's another scene where they find Mallory Beach's body. And I was thinking, like, for people in I wouldn't want anybody local who knows the family or any of the family members to watch these kind of things, because previously when I watched Lifetime movies, I really didn't think about the families. And then watching this, I did.
True. Yes. Suddenly it's real to you.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody just heard the Southern accents were bad.
Well, that's always the case. Is it not true? Like, I mean, this is.
But what did they sound like? I love a bad Southern accent.
I don't know. Well, the funny thing is they had the lawyer for Alec Murdaugh, Dick Harpootlian, played by a female. She didn't even try to do a Southern accent. She was like a ball busting, like New York accent. She did not care. But then, like, some of them, like, they would go into like.
You should have had on this mask. Oh, it's upside down.
Some of them would go into this, like, like the Charleston,
could have been Dick.
Like Charleston accent, and then they would kind of come and go. I don't really notice that kind of stuff too much because I just get into the movie. But like, my husband's always really bothered when he watches movies that are supposed to be Southern and they don't do it right.
Well, I don't pay attention. Have you seen the movie A Time to Kill?
Yes. It's been a long time.
Well, I saw it recently, and I actually really liked that movie. I like the book.
I remember
whatever.
Liking it back in the day.
But the woman in the movie that's the mother of the little girl that's married to the attorney, Jake's wife, blonde. Anyway, she is pouring sweat the whole movie. And it's like somebody told them it's real hot in the South in July. And he would get home from work and she's on the floor and she's sanding the floor, just Ashley Judd, just sweating.
Maybe she was going through menopause. I don't know.
No, I mean, they were trying to make it like it is hot, and it is hot here, but we're not like outside sanding floors at night. I mean,
sometimes I break out in a sweat. I don't know.
No, this was beyond breakout in a sweat. This was like you need to be hospitalized sweat. This was mountain in the Low Country sweat.
That's funny.
So I sort of enjoy that kind of stuff. It's fun to watch that thing. Mountains in the Low Country. Well, I don't know if I can watch it now that you told me that Viagra story.
Yeah, you should. That's very short. That is literally like 30 seconds.
I might have to have like a subscriber watch party.
You should have. I'll join. But okay, so you
could be our commentator.
You can watch the first episode for free on the Lifetime app. The second one is not for free. I had to rent it on Amazon it was $2.99. So just
now, did you go to my old failsafe, which is you go on YouTube and you find somebody that's held their phone up to the TV and recorded it?
No. I was desperate.
That's my favorite streaming service.
I should have taped it because I think we do YouTube TV, and I think we have it on YouTube TV, but you couldn't go back to Lifetime and watch it unless to get it. That's why I had to rent it on Amazon Prime for $2.99.
Well, and I think somebody just said maybe they're replaying it again tonight or tomorrow night or something. So,
Well, if they
well,
are, I'm happy to do. Well, tomorrow actually. Well, no, tomorrow I have nothing. But Saturday, did you hear Messi is playing in Charlotte? It's going to be big news.
who? What? The soccer player Messi? Like
Yes,
there's
he is now part
any
of
other
this.
Messi?
He is part of this
You're going to
Miami
see
team.
him play in
Yes,
Charlotte?
because we are season ticket holders for the Charlotte United team, and he now plays for my Inter Miami. I think I don't know if I'm saying the
He
name wrong.
plays for Miami.
Yes,
Yes, he does.
and they're playing in Charlotte. So
This is exciting.
I'm going to that game.
I think I would too. Huh. You just don't miss a thing. What's the name of the Lifetime movie? Anne wants to know.
I don't know. Hold on. Well, I
Replaying it
can't look
tomorrow
it up.
night at 7. So get your VHS tape out. You know how you hit play record at the same time. Get your camcorder out. You can stream it to YouTube for me.
Yes. I mean, I think it's worth a watch. I mean, I think Bill Pullman or whatever his name is, he was good.
Bill Pullman.
I think that's the name.
Well, I'm going to tune in. And yes, let's talk more.
Yeah.
We go too long.
And if we have,
You had Parents Weekend last weekend with your son. How's he doing in college?
Wrong. No, it was the weekend before last. But I know I should have been there. But I will say it's so hard because right now. So last weekend we went to the South Carolina game, which was they played Florida. It was a terrible ending. They were like, we thought we were going to win, but I actually had all 3 of my kids came and went to the game. And
that's fun.
When you are, I know how you, like, I'm a few years ahead of you on parenting. But when you get all 3 of them in one,
2 gone already, and it's the truth. I mean, it's a big deal.
When you have an opportunity to be with everybody at one time, you just don't know how many more times you'll have for everybody to be together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. My son Thomas, my oldest son, who's a senior in high school, is really considering South Carolina.
Well, Jay is loving it. I say he's loving it. He's so far so good, but he's been struggling with kidney stones, which is really unusual for an 18-year-old to be having kidney stones. So we're actually headed to the urologist tomorrow to sort this out.
Poor fella. Oh,
yeah,
I'm so sorry. You always hear that so painful.
15, and he's loving it. He lucked into this really great dorm right on the quad. He's having a great time. But then when he starts having these kidney stone pains, he's like, I gotta drop out. I can't take this. They kind of come in waves. So we're hoping to get to the bottom of that.
So did he, there's an honors college at South Carolina.
No, he's not smart enough to get. That's right. That's like one of the top ones in the country. No, he's just a regular student.
Well, I heard that. So they sent Thomas an email and invited him to apply.
Yeah, oh, maybe he should, because I mean I'm telling you, I think it's always one of the top ones in the country, like top ones. If he gets in that, and they get into all the best classes. They have their
they said you get registration first, you get preferred living, all sorts of things.
Actually, Jay is living. He actually he's in one of the best dorms because his roommate has Crohn's, so he needed accommodations where he could be close to. He needed his own bathroom and stuff. So they got this really great dorm right on the Horseshoe. Amazing. But then what happened was their shower was leaking into the shower in the dorm below them. So they got moved to the honors dorm for a week. And he's like, I might just want to stay in this honor dorm. I'm like, Jay, you're not in the honors college. I don't think they're going to let you stay there.
Jay sounds like Adrian. Just sort of going to slide in. Well, anyway, he, the more we hear about it, the better it sounds. So I told him, he was like, I don't want to go visit any more colleges till I just see where I get in, and then I'll go visit.
Well, if he does want to go, I'll hook him up with Jay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He can tour him around. Jay's my very social one. He has good social skills, so he would be a good person to.
Great. Yeah. So anyway, and my brother went to South Carolina, and my two cousins. They were all three there together.
It's a fun. I mean, it's a great
They
school.
loved it.
Especially, what's he thinking about? Hey Jay, come here.
He's
make an appearance in the video.
business.
We're talking about you. This is
business.
Jay.
For what? The podcast?
Yeah, this is the live. Hey, say hey.
This is the Tales podcast,
900
Jay.
people. Jesus.
So Jay, her son's thinking about South Carolina.
No, it's a great school. Should go there.
Okay, he might come visit you, Jay.
Campus is beautiful.
And is he thinking about business or? I mean, this is
business.
Do the business school. #1 in the country. It's a good career option.
Look at he should be a tour guide.
He might be. I don't know. If you're in the honors college, when we took our tours, all the honors college people get to do. I mean, I don't know. He's just a regular student.
I like this. I figure out of the four of them, as long as one does something, I'll just talk about that one.
I'm just hoping that they all are,
just gets a job.
Get
somewhere.
a job. Get a job. Yes.
I don't even care what it is. My children are currently in the stage, particularly, well, all three of them. This conversation's really going downhill. They're very.
We don't care about your kids.
They're very critical of my husband and I, their parents, because they are disappointed we haven't saved more money.
Oh my gosh, my friend sent me this message today that she got
college.
from her daughter. It was like, do we have a trust fund? She was like, no. She was like, oh, that's disappointing. I thought that we did. And then she followed up with, what about inheritance?
What about inheritance?
It's bad.
Oh, golly. My daughter was very disappointed when she heard the other day that she thought she had herself as an equal with me and my parents. She was like, you'll get that and then I'll get this. I was like, no. I am the gateway. You get nothing without me. Like jewelry, like taking my mother's jewelry. Darn it.
I'm just trying to keep a charger without anybody stealing it.
It's so interesting you say that. The freaking charger, I went up there. I was late to the video because I couldn't find a charger. Where are they?
Where are they?
And so I have this nice new computer, and now the new iPhones have the same charger as the computer. Well, you might as well give up. Now they're going to steal your computer chargers too.
Oh,
it's all Apple's way to get you to spend a ton of money.
I know. I can't tell you how many I keep ordering. I order them. And don't ever do
this. Is a whole drawer full. And these are like the misfit chargers.
And the other thing is, don't ever buy those expensive ear things because they steal those too.
Well, they get lost and then the children steal them.
Yes.
Like I walk around, there's like one AirPod. I mean, oh no, look, here's a darn charger.
Guess what? I've gone old school. I don't do AirPods anymore. That's what I do.
And they don't give those out anymore
because they don't want to steal these.
Do I have any of those in my drawer? No, but I do have this in my drawer. Oh, I thought this was nose stuff. It's chapstick. Well,
all right.
There's just no nothing. Nothing else. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thank
I
you
miss
for
seeing you.
having me. I miss seeing you too. We got to do it more often. We can talk about random stuff like AirPods and
yeah. That would probably they'd probably be way more popular. This whole going to college thing is a very interesting thing to talk about. I could talk about that.
I could totally talk to you about that.
Because you're ahead. So we could have some coaching sessions with me.
Oh, I could completely do that. And also the whole stuff that you don't need to stress about and the stuff you really need to stress about.
Oh, well, I think we're going to have to put this on the list next week.
Yeah.
A little bit of crime and a lot of coaching.
Yeah, no, I can help you out with the things you need to not care about and the things you do need to care about. Like,
Yeah,
don't
I
care
need
about,
you
like,
in my life.
don't care about who their roommate is because they might not be the roommate the next year. That doesn't matter.
Good advice. I'll make a list while you talk.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, good night.
All right, good
Tell Jay
night.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.